It's no surprise that the Gamecube is my favorite console. I mean, I practically never shut up about it, nor the Wii U, which I guess would mean that they're pretty much on the same level. Huh. Well, if they share anything besides being Nintendo's worst-selling home consoles, it's that they have some truly amazing games. I mean, Twilight Princess is on both, so can't argue there. It's hard to believe that as much as the Gamecube is loved nowadays, it really flopped all things considered. Despite how amazing most of its games are, practically everything sold poorly outside of Smash and Mario Kart. And that has led to some of the best Gamecube games being overlooked, unfortunately. For years, these games have lived in the hearts of us die-hard dumbasses that swear we know how to shut up. But we won't. Obviously, I could make an hour-long video going over every single game, but there's already way more skilled people than me who have done that before. Instead, turn your attention here. This right here is Star Fox Assault, one of the most graphically impressive and fun games the Cube offers. And it actually outright serves as the true follow-up to Star Fox 64. Now, this game came out nearing the end of the Cube's life, and as is unfortunately tradition with any Star Fox game after 64, it didn't sell well. Partly this is due to the Cube itself, but also some of the blame can probably be attributed to this game, which I'll go way more in depth about at a later time. That said, even as a kid I always knew about this game, but we never ended up getting it, and that's a real shame. People have been asking for years for a new Star Fox that does something actually new instead of the whole 64 reimagining over and over. And as it happens to be, Assault does exactly that. It continues the story both after 64 and Adventures, but not in the same weird way that Command did with its 10 million endings. This is a linear shot that begins and ends the exact same way every time you play it, which is a bit of a shame for replayability, but it is what it is. Assault brought a ton of fresh ideas to the Star Fox franchise, some of which were super cool and some that were less than ideal. But you know, that's fine, man, like, the point is that they try to do something new. Seriously though, if you're like me and missed out on this one specifically, or just have a passion for tough-as-nails shooters from the era, then you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing it. But seeing as the video isn't over yet, let me actually show you what I mean, instead of just talking out of my ass. One of the things that Star Fox games have been trying for a while now is on-the-ground gameplay. Think the Walker or even the Landmaster. And while fun in their own way, pretty much everyone agrees that it was never as fun to use either one of them as compared to the actual Arwings. But here comes Assault bringing true on-foot gameplay. It works, kinda. It definitely feels more natural than the Walker and Landmaster, I'd say, but it kinda suffers from a few odd design choices. For one, most missions on foot will have you killing tons of enemies without proper third-person combat controls available. Think something so basic as to hide behind a wall and press a button to look out and shoot. No, most of the time you'll kinda just stand there awkwardly shooting while looking directly at the enemy. I mean, yeah, you can strafe, but that's about as deep as it goes, I'm afraid. Still, it's an interesting little take on the ground gameplay, and pretty much all of the levels that feature it are very fun, with the exception of one of the last levels in the game, the Aparoid Homeworld. Those who've played this know what I talk about. But as with any real Star Fox game, the highlight is the Arwing sections, and man, this is top tier stuff. Flying the Arwing has never felt so smooth and gentle as it does here, which makes it even weirder how Zero made it feel more like 64 instead of this. Levels now incorporate both on-foot and flying gameplay at once, allowing you to hop in and out of vehicles. This works surprisingly well and fits really well with the established gameplay. And honestly, it reminds me a lot of something out of Star Wars. It's just a shame that the most fun type of levels, the actual on-rails Arwing stuff, or corridor mode as it's referred to on the wiki, only really encompasses 3 out of the 10 missions in this game. But seeing as all range mode is here too, it's not that bad. Besides, there's also a new type of gameplay that shows up in which Falco demonstrates just how terrible he is at landing. That's right people, defy gravity and common sense by standing on the wings of Falco's ship while shooting just about everything in sight. What the hell happened here? As silly as it looks, these segments are surprisingly fun and over quite quickly. Besides, you'll get to hear all of the characters interact as the levels go on, just like in the other games. Speaking of which, all of the guys are back and looking better than they ever did in 64, with the notable exception of one character. My old boy Peppy retired from his flight duties, instead becoming a commander of Star Fox, thus letting newcomer Crystal take his place. Which is fine by me, given she's such a cool character. Or at least was in her own game, before the tragedy. Alright, whatever, that's a story for later, so let's just move on, okay? Have you seen the graphics here? The stunning 480p output of the Cube, along with some really nice models for the Arwings, bosses and characters in general, makes Assault a real pleasure to look at. That said, there is one downside to this, and that's the environments and its textures, as they take a noticeable hit instead. But as with modern titles, most will take a high frame rate over pretty graphics, which makes it a joy to say the game runs at a solid 60 FPS sometimes. Yeah, strangely enough, the on-rails Arwing levels are in full 60 FPS, but any stage that you're on foot or in all range mode, the game dials back to 30. Weird, but not unplayable by any means. Like really, the Gamecube had some truly stunning titles such as the Prime games, RE4, and even Adventures itself. And while Assault doesn't quite reach those levels, it still holds up for the most part. Now, if by any chance you've been a fan of me for a long time, then you'll remember the video I made on the downfall of the Star Fox franchise as a whole. But back then, I really didn't give Assault the justice it deserves. So sorry for that Assault stance. And without going too deep into the story itself, it's definitely something you should experience at least once. The only real thing holding this game back is the fact that after all of these years it never got re-released. But with some simple Google searches, I'm sure you'll get it up and running on Dolphin in no time flat. The summary here is that playing Assault felt fresh in comparison to the rest of the franchise. The sheer scale of its narrative with the challenging gameplay just works so well for this franchise. I believe wholeheartedly this is the most logical evolution the series could have made after 64. If the right people show interest, I believe a remake much like the Thousand Year Door one could work really well as a test game for the Switch too. So do yourself a favor and try out the game and subscribe to me so you won't miss any new uploads. Assault is worth it. It's just a shame Nintendo didn't see it that way.